Y'all ready to blaze away or what?
First off, you said that the Tekken 7 was successful because of tournaments, but then you look at those tournaments and say that those tournaments weren't hype, and we need to remove defense to make it hype. Those two statements conflict with one another. Honestly, bro, I think that's not even the case. Honestly, I think everything that they're saying about Tekken 8 is kind of a lie. I think they aren't trying to make it interesting to watch. I don't think that they're trying to make the game aggressive. I think all of that stuff is just excuses so that they can simplify the gameplay. And they're going to justify it by any means. And they're going to say whatever to describe it. Oh, tournaments aren't exciting, so we need to put more aggressive. You know, that aggressive is force 50-50s. Feels like vets need to relearn the game and they don't want to. That's not true. iMusician is fighting Anna Williams. This is the first time he uploaded video to YouTube. And you can see how very well adjusted he is to season 2. He's doing all of the new Yoshimitsu stuff. He just launch punished that Anna Williams move, right? So he is very well adjusted to the update. It's not like these guys don't know how to play or they don't want to adjust. It's just simply that the game is bad. That's literally it. Like, we were talking about this over the course of the live stream, and literally the game was all about defense. The developers have told us this too. The developers told us that Tekken is a series, a franchise that is about defense. That's what it was dominated by. And they said themselves that Tekken 8 is the first time where offense is the dominating fact. And what players' criticism of the game is that offense is too aggressive. We literally have confirmation from the developers that the game changed from defense to offense. And one that's obvious, it was obvious with season 1. It's more obvious with season 2. But our criticism is that it's too offensive. And also, the developers told us we were right. When marketing season 2, they said, okay, guys, we hear you. Defense is restricted. That's what they said. Defense is restricted. And as a result, we wanted to add more defensive properties in the game. They told us what they were doing, and players was like, hey, this isn't really enough. What they said to that is, you guys haven't played the game yet, so play the game and then tell us whether or not you think it's good. Everyone's playing the game, and we're like, hey, this is still not enough. They literally told us we're right the whole entire step of the way. They confirmed offense. First time ever Tekken 8 is an offensive game. They confirmed it. They also confirmed that season 1 was too aggressive. And now we were saying that season 2 looks more aggressive, and they said try it first. We tried it. So I just disagree with you for that reason. You know, I don't want to go on a long rant in response to what you're saying, but I just personally think that what you're saying is not true, and it can be proven in the way that I did. And it's just that simple. It's literally that simple. They told us that this game was not defensive enough, and they added more offense to it. Mids that you used to be able to sidestep, you can't sidestep anymore. How is that buffing defense? It's not. I think they wanted to make Heat interesting, and it's too broken. They killed years worth of character updates that they are proud of. What you're saying there is right, because we did hear a version of this from Michael Murray, where Michael Murray was saying that players don't like offense, but we're not abandoning it. He literally said that. He said you guys don't like offense, but we're not abandoning aggression. We're not. We're going to stick to aggression, and we're going to try to make it work, and we're just going to adjust it and adapt it a little bit. And his take is that, games are built with like a theme, right? Like movies, right? What type of tone do you want to set with this movie, with this game, And the tone of Tekken 8 is aggression, and everything has been built with that in mind. And he is saying, from a balancing standpoint, when you remove the core philosophy, then everything starts to come apart. And you basically have to build in a new philosophy, which would in turn be a new game. You would have to build a totally new game. 1, I don't know how much time that would take. 2, I don't know how much that would cost. I don't know if that's possible. I'm not a game developer. But I do think that's kind of where we're at with Season 2. Season 1, you could have adjusted a couple of things and made it work. But with Season 2, the heat system being so chaotic, with frames being so absurd, you kind of do need to do a massive overhaul at this point. We thought Season 1, transitioning to season 2 was going to be the overhaul, but it wasn't an overhaul. It was more so doubling down on offense, and I think that was not the move. I don't know why they came to that conclusion. I really wish I can understand, because that's the thing. They say all of this stuff, but they're not really explaining why they're doing it. That's what I keep going back to, is why did they think putting chip damage on throw breaks was a good idea? Why do they think buffing moves that are mid, where you used to be able to step, to make it you not step anymore? Why do they think that's a good idea? Like, is it simply because they want to reduce the skill gap and they want players to guess and they want skilled players to lose? If that's really what they're after, where they want skilled players to guess against weak players and have a higher chance of losing, then they should know that this will be the outcome of it. Problem started when other Bandai Namco games failed really bad, forcing Tekken 8 to be stringy with their DLC and their over-costed price for the base game on launch, when the Japanese yen is worth 0. Those other games that Bandai Namco had problems with, and they had to, cancel games. They're trying to lay off employees. It's very chaotic, right? I was talking about how tensions must be really high for the Tekken team to perform. And here's one thing interesting to note. Tekken always talks about how their game is a success, but on Bandai Namco's financial report, they did not say Tekken 8 was a success. They said Sparking Zero was a success. They said Elden Ring was a success. Some other game was a success, but they did not say that Tekken 8 is contributing to their success. They didn't say it. So I say that to say that I do think that the developers are having some kind of issue in terms of the pressure being applied on them. And we know this to be true because, once again, Harada told us himself. He told us that the Bandai Namco executives are only interested in making money, and they put pressure on Tekken to do so. And also what you have to consider is how much money they invested into this game. They told us many times throughout the lifespan of this game that Tekken 8 was expensive. The story was expensive. Arcade Quest, really expensive. In my opinion, I think Arcade Quest was one of the biggest wasted monies. How many of you guys completed Arcade Quest? Did you guys complete Arcade Quest? But not only was Arcade Quest expensive, also the character models and whatnot. They talked about how they rebuilt all of that from scratch. They talked about how they created all of that in Unreal Engine 5. It was very expensive to do that. Also, using Unreal Engine 5 itself is very expensive. Unreal Engine said that smaller teams would be able to use it for free, but the companies who can pay and who are billion-dollar corporations like Bandai Namco would have to pay up, and they don't get a free pass. So this game is very expensive, and they're trying to make that money back, or else Bandai Namco is going to bring the hammer down. So I get what they're doing, but the way that they've been going about it over the past year is not the best, and it's having a lot of backfire. And the developers are in this position where they are going to have to start playing catch up very rapidly. If this game continues to decline, because even if they do want to blame the veteran players and whatnot, you need them. You need the veteran players. If you don't have that core audience to carry this game through tough times, you will suffer financially because you lose like the majority of your audience. You lose your core fan base. Tournaments die overnight. Content creation ceases to exist. Streams no longer happens. Like, a lot of stuff changed when the veteran players stop playing. Okay, so let me see what you said. Hey, thank you guys for the dono and everything, Okay, so you said it's more so Tekken 8 is forced to make sales to make up for the other games failing. When you bring up that point, then you got to start talking about Blue Protocol. You got to talk about how Blue Protocol was one of the Bandai Namco's biggest flops, right? They lost a lot of money on that game. I lost my train of thought. I was thinking way too hard. Very good conversation. Thank you, bro. I'll be trying, bro. I'll be trying to really, because it is a complex discussion. The surface level is talking about balancing. The surface level is talking about +5 mids, right? But if you want to get to the root of why that happens, you have to first try to figure out why the developers feel the need to put that in there. And then once you figure out that, or sort of have an understanding or idea why that exists, you then got to start following the rabbit hole to get to the real root of the understanding. I like all of it, but just heat is too strong. Pros don't like randomness. The reason why pros don't like randomness is because it's a competitive game. And in competitive games, randomness is not supposed to exist. Fighting games are a sport to a degree. A lot of people treat it as a sport. The pro players train like it's a sport. They travel like it's a sport. They manage their diets like it's a sport. Most sports, we do not like random outcomes. No one sits down to watch the World Cup to see the referees like decide the game on a whim. The developers are basically the referees of fighting games, right? This is why the NFL gets so much scrutiny, because the referees are too much involved. They want the players to be able to decide the outcome. But when you have penalties and flags being thrown everywhere, it takes the outcome out of the hands of the players, and it puts it into a third factor. For fighting games, that third factor is over aggressive balancing.
Go to this website and check out the individuals that are working on this game, because although we do point the finger at Arada a lot of the time.
Why is he whispering? He lost his voice? Oh, okay. This is why I like Mike. Dedication, bro. Bro lost his voice and he's like, we gonna get out this Tekken rant regardless.
Arada's in charge of it all, but he's essentially handed it off to other people. These are the people that are heading up Tekken now. These are the people that we need to push our concerns to. Arada is essentially just a mouthpiece at this point, and I mean that with respect.
Could I get a yes or no whether or not you guys think that the problem that we have on our hands here is that Soul Calibur devs, DOA devs, and not insidiously, but they infiltrated Tekken, flew up the ladder, and now they're corrupting what the game is supposed to be? Do you guys think that's the root of the problem? Because I could buy into it a little bit, but at the same time, we know that whoever's in charge is in charge. And we heard stories in the past from other gaming units, other developers. After everything goes bad, people get fired, people get laid off, where people say, I was given the job of doing this and it's my job. I did it. I just can't say that all of those guys are at fault. I think it is a little bit more complex than that. But also at the same time, I do think it's important that players are having this discussion, because you do have a bleeding of Tekken's identity. I think that Tekken is having a real identity crisis. And if this is something that happened unintentionally, the developers can now be aware of it and they can course correct. Mistakes happen, right? You want to, have the new developers bring some new ideas in, and you don't realize how it's corrupting what the players' expectations are. I can agree but disagree, because I think the situation is more complicated than just that.